And I can imagine once I settle and I have a family, I have a husband, well, first I need a boyfriend, but then I can imagine living around this area here. Hello and welcome back to a new video. Today I'm going to talk about my life and my studies in New Zealand. I asked you on Instagram what you want to know about living in New Zealand and studying, and so I'm going to answer that now. For those who don't know me, I'm Johanna, I'm from Germany and I live in New Zealand since October, or I traveled through New Zealand in October and I moved here in January, or like I moved in a flat. And yeah, feel free to follow me on Instagram. I post there daily about my life here and what I'm doing. And yeah, I'm gonna put my name here, Johanna Liana. And yeah, so now I'm gonna answer your questions. So first of all, what am I studying here? I study digital business. I do a postgraduate diploma, and this diploma takes 1 year. So I started in January and I will be finished in December. Yeah, so why 1 year? That's a question I got asked a lot. So the thing is, I came to New Zealand because I just love it here. I was in New Zealand 5 or nearly 6 years ago, and I did work and travel and used my working holiday visa. And yeah, you can only use that one once. So I came back to New Zealand and I actually wanted to work here and figure out if I want to live here forever. But it is really difficult to get a work visa, and so that's why I kind of came up with the idea, why don't you just study here? And because when you study in New Zealand, after that you can apply for a post-study visa, and with that one you can work 2 or 3 years in New Zealand. And so that's my plan. That's why I study for just 1 year, because you get the visa with a postgraduate diploma when you just study for 1 year as well. And so that's why I study just 1 year, why I just do the postgraduate diploma, which is not just but that's why I just study for 1 year, to answer the question. Another question to that was if I just do a semester abroad. So no, I'm studying full-time in New Zealand. The question I got asked a lot is, what's the difference, or what is different compared to Germany, or if the quality of education is better in New Zealand than in Germany, and if I think it's easier and all that. So I didn't study at a public university in Germany, so I can't really tell. I studied at DHFPG, Deutsche Hochschule für Prävention und Gesundheitsmanagement, and there we just had classes of like 30 people, and that's the same at EIT where I study here in New Zealand. So it's more like an institution. So it's just small classes where we're just maybe 40 people or 30 people. So that's very similar to DHFPG in Germany. And as an international student, you get a lot of help, so you can use different services the uni offers. So there is like a you can book a session with a learning advisor, so you can ask them about your assignment and just some grammar things. So I did that once in the beginning, but actually I have to say, so that was also a question if studying in New Zealand is difficult. So for me, I thought it is more difficult, but actually I understand everything, and I just got used to the writing again, and it's not that hard. So if you are good in English, it's definitely doable. Of course, you need to put effort in it and work in it, and sometimes it just takes a little bit longer to understand a text you have to read. But I think even in German, reading like studies and all that is difficult. So I would absolutely say it's doable. And of course, if you are not interested in the topic you're studying, it's always easier. So I just wanted to explain how you enroll or apply actually, because that was a question I had to answer a few times, which is totally, yeah, fine, because when I decided to study in New Zealand, I was like, oh my god, can I really do that? Isn't that so much work? Isn't that like so complicated? But actually it's really easy to apply. One thing you have to do before you apply is to do an English test. It's called IELTS. I don't actually not know how to pronounce it, so I'll write it down here. And you have to reach a certain level in your English test. So it's writing, reading, talking, listening. And I just prepared myself for that test for 1 week, and that was also doable. But yeah, it's a little bit difficult, but you can do it. And then once you have your results, you can apply for your studies. I also got my bachelor degree translated in English and handed that one in, and then you usually on the website of the university you want to apply is a step-by-step guide how to apply for your visa for your studies. And after you got accepted by the university, you can apply for your student visa. So when you apply for your student visa on the immigration website, you have to hand in or scan or whatever, upload your enrollment, like your acceptance of the university, then that you paid the fees. So you have to pay the whole fees before you start studying. So you have to upload that at the application form for your student visa, your passport, then your savings. So you have to make a screenshot of your bank account where your name is on it and the money you have, to show that you can live and look after yourself in New Zealand. Yeah, I think that's it. But maybe, just have a look again. But what you have to upload is that you got accepted, that you paid the fees, that you can support yourself in New Zealand, passport, and yeah. Let's talk about the fees. So it's not cheap to study in New Zealand, so international fees are very high. And it also depends on which university you want to study. So Auckland, Wellington, and I think it's Dunedin and Christchurch. Those unis are very expensive because there are like, you kind of pay for the name, and it's just good universities. For me, it was I really wanted to study in Napier, and so I decided to study at EIT, which is like an institute where you also can do like what's it called, like certificates and all that. So it's more like, in German I would say, like a Hochschule. And yeah, so I paid 23,000 New Zealand dollar for 1 year for my postgraduate diploma. If you do a master, it's more expensive, and if you do a bachelor degree, of course it's more expensive because you have more years to pay. And 23,000 New Zealand dollar is like, I think, 13,000 euro. So what you can do to pay your fees or to get some support, you can apply for scholarships. So there are a lot of organizations that give scholarships, so have a look there, because I tried that as well, but I decided, like, it was very spontaneous that I decided to study in New Zealand. So if you have 1 year time, apply for scholarships and just do it. Then you can get a loan in German, Kredit, and pay it back after a certain time. So that's what I did. So I pay back my bank an amount monthly, or you can just talk to you back about that. How long can I stay in New Zealand after my studies, and is residency an option? That was the question. So I can stay after my studies for 2 or 3 years. It depends on the work visa I get. I hope it's 3 years. And then I really want to try to get residency, or like not try, I will get residency. Law of attraction. Now that's my plan. But I can let you know more about residency once I get there, because I don't want to tell you how to do it if I'm not 100% sure. Question about living in New Zealand. Is it more expensive to live in New Zealand than in Germany? So I actually googled that, because in Germany I still lived with my parents, so I haven't had so many costs, which was really good because I also saved for my trip to New Zealand the whole time. So I googled and found out that New Zealand is 3.7% more expensive than Germany. So it really depends on your lifestyle. I don't drink much alcohol, so that's actually quite good because alcohol is really expensive in New Zealand. I don't smoke either, and because tobacco is also very expensive. Then food, if you go to locals or like a market, you can get fruit and veggies very cheap. Of course, I think there are 4 different supermarkets, or 3. New World, Pack and Save, Countdown. And Pack and Save is with one of the cheapest supermarkets. I always go to Pack and Save. And I always plan to spend $100 per week for food, for groceries. That's about €60. And then my rent is $200 per week, $200, which is actually quite normal. Like 100, you can get a room in Napier for 160, but yeah, that's really like, depends on what you after. 180 to 220 is like the rent. But then it also depends where in New Zealand you want to live. So I can imagine, or I know that Auckland is way more expensive and Wellington is maybe more expensive than where I live at the moment. So how do I pay my rent and do I work here? So I work 10 hours a week. I'm allowed to work 20 hours or even more at the moment because of COVID. They changed the agreement, or what's it called, like you are allowed to work more than 20 hours just because the lockdown, students need the money now. But the thing is, when you're on a student visa, you have to prove that you're still good in your studies. So if you just work and your studies, like your grades or marks are not so good, and then you should definitely work less. Other than that, you can work 20 hours, and I'll work 10 hours per week just because that really fits with my studies. So then I can focus enough on my studies and work. And I also, I have Instagram, and I also have my own nutrition plan, which gives me some income, and that's how I pay my rent and my life in New Zealand. How was it for you to move to New Zealand without knowing anyone? So I already knew a few people in New Zealand, and from my last trip, and I always stayed in contact with them. And then when I came here, I caught up with them, and that's how I kind of got to know other people as well. And when you travel, you always meet people, and you always make new friends if you are an open person. I started playing football, which helped me a lot to meet new people, and which is just really cool to have like this team sport. Another general question was, how do you improve your English? So honestly, I don't speak German anymore. Like just when I talk to my parents or FaceTime friends from Germany, and this is maybe once or every 2 weeks. And here I just hang out with locals or uni. I just talk English the whole time. So that's how I improve my English. I still make mistakes. Sometimes I realize that after a time, and I'm just like, oh my god, but I don't care, like it's not my mother language, so of course you make mistakes. Then when I was back in Germany, I always tried to, or what I still do of course, is reading books in English, watching movies in English, just do as much as possible in English. Well, in New Zealand, of course, I just do everything in English, but when I was back in Germany, I continued to read things in English and listen to things in English and all that, and that's how I improve my English. Last question, where do you want to live in New Zealand in the future? So I have to say I just love Napier. It's like my favorite place and it feels really like home. And I can imagine once I settle and I have a family, I have a husband, well first I need a boyfriend, but then I can imagine living around this area here. I'm not sure if I really want to move, I don't know, but I see my future here, I would say. So yeah, that's it. I hope you liked it. I hope I could help you with my video and my studies in New Zealand, and feel free to ask me anything in the comments or on Instagram. And yeah, stay safe, stay kind, stay healthy. See ya!